I am a rebel. It's just me against everybody else.
Ooh. What's that
I
from?
like it. I think it
I
sounds
think
familiar.
Mulan? Oh.
Mulan. Wait, what happened? Remember when we were talking about Mulan projections like a year ago?
Yeah.
And Uncle was right.
I had it.
He was projecting because this is how long we've been doing the podcast.
Right.
We were talking about the direct to streaming model.
Yeah.
That's
That
true.
Christina Aguilera would be her last performance ever anywhere.
Yeah. You called it.
We're off the rails in 0.6 seconds.
That's the fastest.
Jack
we've
the
ever
comic nerd says hello.
Hey, what's up, Force family?
Correction.
Welcome back
Hello
to
there.
the Star Wars Guys podcast. We are so pumped to talk about Andor, episode 6.
Yeah.
We are your hosts, Mike,
done. Hello,
Nate,
Yeah.
And you know him well.
know him well.
Uncle.
Uncle.
I like the way we're stepping on each other's toes. This is a perfect start. I think every time we go off the rails now, we just immediately turn to each other and go, climb.
Climb.
What are you doing? Climb. Climb.
Going as fast as I can.
I can't feel my legs. Climb. I can't feel my legs. Climb.
Punch in the numbers, buddy, because we're not getting out of here without you.
Yeah, seriously. We got
man.
Deli in the chat. Yo, what's going on? Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for joining
Hello
us.
there.
Yeah. Hello there.
Gosh.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
So
Yeah.
episode 6 of Andor. Uncle just finished watching it moments before we started recording.
I'm not a slacker. I'm doing the
Not a
work.
slacker.
Yeah.
I wait for my kids to get home, and then we had homework to do, and
Yeah.
then we had a little birthday party
Oh,
That's true. That's true. Who was it?
for Nate.
For
Nate's
IG88 Nate?
birthday. IG88.
Let's go.
Celebrating.
IG88, a.k.a. Josh Allen. According
Yeah,
to
that's
people on
true.
TikTok, they say Nate looks like Josh
Everybody's
Allen.
been saying I
Nobody's
look like
throwing,
Josh Allen.
basketball season hasn't started yet.
I get a mix of
Get a
Luca and
couple
Josh
Lucas
every
in there.
night.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Luca.
Yeah.
I like it.
I can see it.
I just get Christoph Waltz all the time. I do.
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah. I just start talking about
Have you
the
got a Christoph Waltz?
strudel.
Have you got
I just start mentioning the word strudel.
a strudel?
A strudel. I don't know. I
It's
don't
a little-
really have.
It's a little Jar Jar.
It is
little
strudel.
stitch.
It was a-
little stitch.
It was a little too much. Ohana means strudel. Yeah, it was a little too much in there.
I'm imagining Stitch go off on a
Stitch.
Nazi rant. That would just be
Stitch
completely.
is cutting up the strudel
Oh,
and he's just
man.
eating right there.
Man.
That's
Um,
that'd be good. Yeah.
So I'm
but
fresh off the episode, ready to rumble,
Yeah.
ready to talk. It was amazing.
yeah, overall thoughts.
was
We
great.
like to go around usually and say
Overall
just
thoughts? We
before we
wanna-
get into specifics, overall
Whoa,
thoughts
whoa,
of
whoa,
watching the
whoa, whoa,
episode.
whoa. Well,
Hey.
do we want to start with a little what happened? Star Wars news? Star Wars in real life this week?
Ooh,
Yeah.
as Norm Macdonald would say, wait a minute.
So for
hold
those of you,
the fort.
Hold the fort.
Hold
So
the
those of you
fort.
who haven't seen the episode yet, you can stick around for this little bit, and then and then once we dive into the episode, obviously, if you haven't seen it, get the heck out of here.
Beat it.
No, but what are you doing here? No, but we'll let you know. But yeah,
great.
any Star? I know
It's already
we
a great
had a
episode.
little Star Wars. Mike, anything? We'll get to ours.
As far as Star Wars Adventures,
Well, any Star Wars adventure this
So,
week.
I had a very fun thing today. So today, one of my Star Wars adventures is a little bit related to your Star Wars adventure,
Whoa.
but I won't take that one.
Hey.
Because then what will Nate have left? Today I sat down. This was really fun, and I spent about 52 minutes, and I watched.
52 minutes.
Yeah, I watched the most
52.
recent episode of the new Andor show,
Oh, that's
the
what you
Star
did
Wars
today.
show,
I've heard about this.
And-
That came out today
and it's a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
Some people aren't watching it apparently,
No.
but
because they don't know it's a Star Wars show.
right.
I watched it. I figured because we like Star Wars, I might as well do that. So
Yeah.
that was my adventure today, and we'll talk
I had
about
that
that.
thumbnail. You thought, I'll put a couple minutes in, and
Yeah. I'll do
Prepare.
some homework.
that's good.
Sure.
Yes. If you're new to the show, that was a joke. I didn't do anything else this week.
That was it.
I
You
did
had
watch
no-
the show,
No Star
but
Wars
yes.
encounter.
I mean, I always.
I
Have
got a
Star
feeling
Wars. I always have Star Wars
something tells
encounters.
me you went to V-Stock.
I did go to V-Stock. I didn't want to steal your thing, but part of my Star Wars adventures involved Nate's birthday, and I bought
Whose?
Nate a Star Wars birthday gift today.
Yeah.
You can never.
And
go wrong
it's-
Do we have it here?
Oh, we should have brought
and
it
it's
down.
prominently
Not
being
down
displayed.
It is in the. it
Now
is-
no one's gonna believe me that I bought him a gift.
It's protected.
Yeah.
We bought him a
It's
car.
protected, safe
What did
keeping.
I get you for your birthday?
Mike got me a nice. I'm looking over here like it's over here.
It's not there.
A nice Obi-Wan Kenobi Funko Pop
From the
to add to
series.
the collection.
From
to
the
add
new Obi-Wan Kenobi
from-
series,
yes,
one of the
from
newest
the
released
series
ones.
with the long slick back
Top
hair.
notch.
He's
Yeah.
holding his saber.
Way to go.
Looking nice.
Nice.
Looking nice.
Awesome.
You can't go wrong with
It's
a
pretty
little
cool.
Kenobi. Hello there.
There was a number of ones there. We had the Revo. We had a little bit of Roken. We had a number of Tala.
Nice.
Tala.
So I had
Lanjo is in the chat. We got J-Man.
oh
Joe
Yeah.
Marksy. We
What's
got
up,
Lanjo
guys?
Calrissian. Whoa, whoa,
Yes.
whoa.
Whatever we
Lanjo says the Eye, 10 out of 10. That was the name of the episode. The
Yeah.
Eye.
Do you know
10 out
that
of
the
10
name
was
of the episode of The Rings of Power this week was also The Eye?
The Eye.
Wow.
I heard they coordinated that actually.
They
And
also
for any of you that
infiltrating
don't-
a rebel, an Imperial base in that one too. I heard this episode.
They
of
did.
Lord of the
They
Rings.
And
did.
the spoiler alert at the end of Andor, did you notice the that Eye of Sauron up in the sky? No, there's no
Right.
crossover. There's
If
no
I did.
crossover.
Andor. Yeah.
Interesting.
But yes, the Eye. It is funny that the same
I
within
didn't
7
know
days of
that.
each other,
That is
two very
crazy.
prominent shows, and then on the Rings of Power, we had two characters who were missing an eye. Two very prominent characters
That's
missing
true.
an eye in this week's episode. So eyes all around.
Eyes all around.
That's
Let's vote on it.
the eyes have it.
Eyes. Yeah, no, I mean, so yeah, that was part of my Star Wars adventure of the week. Was able to get a nice birthday gift of Obi-Wan Kenobi Funko. You can never get too many Star Wars Funkos. You can get them on
No.
display, for the podcast, or keep it to yourself. Either one.
Yeah.
We'll put it on display. We'll have it out here next week.
Yeah.
I think
We'll
we
get
need
it out
to.
here next week. Yeah.
Awesome.
We definitely
Yeah.
will.
And then I'll let Uncle explain this one. We had a little Star Wars encounter this week, right?
We did. Might have to remind me what it was though.
Yes.
Practice.
Oh, with our
You guys had Star Wars practice
one of
without
our
me?
We had
coaches.
Star Wars practice.
Yeah, he might be tuning in.
He might be.
Jahan, one of the players on our team, huge Star Wars fans.
Ooh.
His dad, Jahan, they're going to Disneyland.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
For,
I'm
they're
jealous.
going to spend some time out there. Huge Star Wars fans. Going to go to Galaxy's Edge out there. And I told them that you guys were there on the first day.
Opening day.
Yeah.
Opening day.
Nate and I
you
were at
guys
the
should have
front
done a
line.
podcast about that. That would have been cool.
We should have.
Anyway, so they launched
First
that.
podcast
Some
we ever
say
did.
that's how the
It's
podcast
the
began.
podcast
This is the
that
first
launched
episode we ever
1,000
did.
Episodes.
It was
Yeah.
it was a fun one.
So
Happy birthday,
yeah, we
Nate.
had some
Thank you,
Star Wars
Billy.
talk on the way. It was cool, and
Yeah.
told them to come in. I don't think they came to the podcast, but that's okay.
That's okay.
But if
It
they're
might-
watching this back,
But hey, yeah, a little nice Star
Just
Wars
that's right.
encounter. It's a
Yeah.
little nice Star Wars encounter.
It was cool.
Yeah,
Well,
that's good.
we didn't get into any.
Fellow fans.
We didn't feel like it was the right time to go. How do you feel about Ryan Johnson?
yes.
Too
No.
soon, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I love that it's now you're like the quick dinner conversation of like either the taboo.
How
don't
invested
mention it.
are you?
That's right.
Well, it's like
It's
It used to be
it's
the-
quick. It's the eye test.
it used to be if I want to know what's about you, it's like, hey, what do you do? And then
Mhm.
when you start crossing the line, it's don't talk about whether it's religion, politics, or what you think of the Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Yeah,
Because that's as divisive as
It
any
is
of
the
those.
most
It's the
polarizing.
Yeah.
polarizing of any of them.
I would venture to say if you're both Star Wars fans, you could probably have a conversation about Trump easier than you could about the Last
About
Jedi.
the Last
You
Jedi.
might find more
You
common ground.
Probably could.
Figure that one out.
You probably could.
That
yeah,
is
it's
funny.
pretty divisive.
yeah.
It is.
Yeah. But
That's
yeah, that
great.
was our
Yeah,
Star
it was
Wars
cool.
Star Wars adventure.
That's
for the
exciting.
Week. It was good.
It was
it was
cool.
good.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That reminds me before we move on to the episode. That reminds me of when you were just talking about having Star Wars conversations. I remember well before the days of podcasts, when the three of us, sometimes with
Whoa.
other members of our family, would sit around with the Star Wars Trivia Pursuit.
Yeah.
We would go on road trips, and I believe maybe Nate was in college at the time, or we would make I think it was maybe making drives to Truman State or making a few
Yeah.
of these
We weren't
multiple
even
hour
playing the game.
drives.
We would just draw the cards and
We would just pull cards. We didn't even have the board out with like
No.
Yeah.
the wedges or anything like that. The wedge Antilles.
wow.
And I said like Lando. We would actually just quiz the entire car
Right.
and be like, as a group, can we get a perfect,
Perfect
5 for
six.
5 or
5 for
six
6.
for
Mhm.
6
Yeah.
on the card? And we'd have a pack of Star Wars, and then we'd also have a pack of Lord of the Rings.
Lord of
Yes.
the Rings, yeah.
And we tried to compare, and we would go for like a number of hours,
Pull
and
cards.
then just see like which
We did the
ones
drive
get
from.
through.
I think it was from Truman State. It was a equal split. We
I
got
think it was like to the exact
same
card.
number of score right of Star Wars as we did Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
Yes. So we're saying this to announce our big announcement. Do
Which
The
is-
big
yeah, go
announcement.
ahead.
The announcement.
Drum roll.
We are doing the Lord of the Rings cast. It's a new
Yes.
car.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Tell us what they
Darn.
won.
Uh,
Absolutely nothing.
you won nothing, and you have been now possessed by the One Ring. One ring to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all, and in the darkness find
Are
them.
we? Are we really doing? Are we doing that?
I think we are.
I think we might be.
No. This season's there's one more episode.
All right.
We decide
yeah.
right before the season finale. Are we launching a podcast?
Let's do
or
it
one
now.
more
Let's do it
episode?
now.
We'll do it now. Yeah. So episode
Andor.
Amazing.
Episode
Dive into
6.
it. So
Initial
those of you
thoughts.
that haven't seen it, get out of here.
Initial
Get
thoughts.
outta
Uncle, lead us
here.
off. I've
I
already heard
felt-
amazing.
I don't think I've had that much tension
Ooh,
in an
yes.
episode.
Yeah.
I don't think in any show.
I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, start
It's-
to finish.
Yeah. It started when they're walking down the road in the
Yes.
Yeah.
uniform. Like, and we're like, oh, we're 10
Like,
minutes in.
we're in it.
I'm already nervous.
Immediately.
Is it going to
Yeah.
fail? Amazing.
Immediately.
Well, because the whole time I'm thinking something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
Something's gonna go wrong. What is it?
What
When's
is- how soon?
How soon? When's it gonna happen? And what?
What's
the
what's
extent?
great about it is you didn't. Everybody's up for grabs except Andor.
That's the thing.
It
It's
makes
because
it like,
everyone else
wow,
is
I
new
know.
that's a
don't
part of that
know.
outfit. You
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I mean, so far, literally, of anybody we've seen on the show, any character, not even just in this heist, Andor and Mon Mothma are the only ones that we've seen for sure
That we know.
that we
Yeah.
know of
Yep.
that have a future part to play that,
Yeah.
that we've seen down the road. Now, we've
Yeah.
also mentioned
not
Saw
only
Gerrera,
that-
and we know that Saw shows up at some point, but that we've
Yeah.
seen.
That's right.
We don't know what happens to Luthen. We don't know
Yeah.
what happens to Karn. We don't know what happens to those Imperials. We don't
And
know what
that's the
happens to
thing
the
is-
outfit, any of those guys.
Not only do we know that, on the contrary, it also makes us wonder why didn't we see these other characters in
Why don't we?
It's
Rogue
the,
One?
It's
It's
the Rogue
like,
One
is
effect
that
too.
why? Because they
Yeah.
they die or something happens to them, or they're on the run.
Some of it's the Rogue One effect. When Rogue One was announced, we went,
Yeah.
why are none of these people a part of
Oh, right.
Episode 4 other than the fact that they were 3 years old when the movie came out?
Right.
Or not born yet.
yeah.
But
The
it's
names,
because they don't make it.
They don't make
It's
it.
because they don't make it. But
It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
fantastic overall thoughts and
Not a
so
single
good.
Jedi. Not a single stormtrooper.
not even
And
a
it-
mention of one
mention of
stormtrooper.
one.
A mention,
But not
yeah.
a
no-
former stormtrooper
It
is the
was
only one we
so
got.
good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The-
so good.
I am digging the storytelling style so much. Like you were saying, it was the most tense.
The character building between each person, it goes right along with the story is developed through the characters progressing.
Right.
I don't understand. I guess some people online still consider this show to be slow. I don't feel like that at all. Like
Oh,
even in the
No.
episodes like the episode before, which is very dialogue heavy and it's
Yeah.
preparing for the big thing. Like I'm hanging on every word. Like
Yeah.
Nemec's manifesto when he's talking about it.
Oh,
I'm listening
man.
to every single word of what they're saying because
Yeah.
it's like when we talk about themes on here, a big picture, not fighting what we hate, saving what we love.
Mm-hmm.
Call back to last episode when Andor, they asked like, why are you fighting? And he says, I know what I'm against. And that's because you're
Yeah.
not there yet.
That's
you don't
right.
you don't understand yet. It's
That's
not
right.
just
Yeah.
about fighting what you
Yeah.
hate, as Rose Tico would later tell us. But the tension in this episode, like you said, from when they get those uniforms on, they start marching. Even right before, at the very beginning, when Nemec's talking to Clem, talking to Andor, and they're talking about sleep, and he's like, I'm having trouble sleeping, but you sleep like a rock.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, you can, and then he tells him like, he encourages him like, you can sleep when it's over tomorrow. And then right away I went, I feel like he's
Oh,
maybe
no.
going for an ultimate sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
He
did.
afraid right then.
We did.
It was
that
a
it was gonna
classic
happen.
line. Yeah.
But then they get us because they fool us because when he gets out of the actual heist,
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, he's one
Right.
of my favorite characters. He made it.
Yeah.
And then the actual credits,
Andor
the
kills
actual
him.
money itself crushes him.
and that was so shocking. Man.
It
I was
was,
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
out of nowhere. You think
But overall-
they'll think, okay, we lost a couple, the
Mhm.
rest are safe, and then you're like, they're still not safe.
Right.
Overall thoughts, I was blown away by one, the scale of the episode,
Yeah, it just felt massive.
the visuals. I mean, the thumbnail we're looking at right here. That may be the
Yeah.
most
Could-
beautiful looking visual effects thing.
There's
got
got to be nominations for this episode,
Unbelievable.
right?
Yeah.
It was
There's gotta
uh,
be
It's on TV.
nominations.
I know. Unreal.
it's I mean, whatever they're, I definitely think Tony Gilroy did not oversell. Excuse me, he did not overstate coming into the show. He said the scope of this of the show, the scale of it is huge. He's like, it's massive.
Yeah.
It feels massive.
Yeah.
And we've talked about before, it's not to beat down any other shows because we're really big fans of the other shows. But you do feel a difference just in the size of a volume show and a show that's
even
shot particularly, most of it not in the volume. And
even
just feels
Kenobi
bigger.
felt big at moments where there were times where I was like, I can kind of see how this could be in the volume. This shot,
you can just
This-
see kind of the way it's
this seems
staged
like it
and the
could
way
be
that
film there.
this feels
closer shots, not as far away,
Right.
because they're more confined in the filming.
There are so many specifics we'll get to about this episode that I just love. But overall thoughts, love it. Was on the edge of my seat literally from the moment it started to the sigh of relief from Luthen at the end when he has
I
his
love that
cackle and
moment.
he's like, oh, let me check in the back. Maybe we got something new.
And he's just smiling.
He starts laughing.
It went
and then
viral.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah,
It went
It
viral.
went viral. And
that's
it
exactly
happened.
what he wanted.
It had begun. It was the flare
And-
that was shot up in the air that signaled the
That's right.
actual start. There
Yep.
were little rumblings, but now
Yeah,
when the Senate chambers are emptying in the middle of Mon Mothma's speech
Right.
because everyone's getting the news of it, you're
Yeah.
like, it's what
It's the
Luthen said
beginning.
before. There's no going back after this.
Nope. And they're
And,
calling the
yeah.
officers in to get serious now.
yeah,
Yes.
everybody.
Officers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
But Nate, overall, so I loved it. Uncle loved it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
yeah.
I loved it.
Just-
I want some more of it.
Oh.
No, I
That
mean,
should be our quote.
I didn't know that was an option.
No,
that
I mean, obviously, completely agree. I think it's like you said. There's no Jedi. It's just
No
the scale
force.
of it. There's no force.
Just
It just felt.
and yet
It-
it's
it
so
takes-
Star Wars.
It's. I mean, I said this from the very first episode. It's so Star Wars, but also different at the same time. And I don't know
Mhm.
how it's possible, but they're doing it. They're
Yeah.
doing it for me.
Yeah.
Like it feels very Rogue One. I get all of that. It feels Star Wars, spy thriller, going in on a heist, Luke and Leia sneaking through the Death Star, like they're working their way in. But then at the same time, it doesn't feel just like another Star Wars movie where you've got the overall Force, Jedi, Sith looming over everything.
Yeah,
Because that's not what this series is about.
that's right.
And so it's just the combination of that, I think, it's really doing it for me. I love it, and I love this episode in particular. I do think it's very evident that and kind of what you're attesting to of like some people still saying it might be slow here and there. It's very prominent, the 3-episode arc, at least so far.
Yeah.
Like 3 episodes,
Yeah.
boom,
I'm
3
loving it,
episodes,
like,
boom,
'cause
and
you
I
kind
love
of-
it.
You new
You
start.
I
get-
kind
getting
of like
this-
having the expectation of like,
Right.
oh, I can see where this is building up.
Does anyone
Yeah.
else feel like we've seen 2 movies already? Like I
Yeah.
feel like we watched the first movie and
It
now
really
we just
does.
watched another movie and
Absolutely.
we've got
Like,
2 more movies.
This
that they're
really
setting
felt
up.
like the end of a movie, and it's funny when this ended. I thought, "Where's it?" Like, I don't even have a clear direction on where this is going. Like
Mhm.
this felt like the end of like a Rogue One.
It's
Like,
gonna be
oh,
fun
this is
to
the
make some
beginning.
predictions. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
This is the begin. Like it felt like, oh, this is the beginning, but there's not like a clear like, oh, here's the next heist or here's the next thing. It just felt like that was it. Like that could have been a finale, and you're like, oh, that was the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Like
And-
the end of the first arc of episode 3 ended where clearly we're like Cassian and Luthen are heading out.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to join. He's like, we're getting into the fight now. We're going to go join. This has been building all to this act. And now we wait for the aftermath kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
One, what's the next move on the rebellions?
Yeah,
Obviously, Mon Mothma knew this was happening. Luthen knew this was happening. They're waiting, and this strike happens. But it's obviously their first play. They have to have a follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do now? How do they? At first, I was a little bit worried for Luthen when the guy's sitting there,
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
and I was like, "Does he know
Does
that
he
Luthen's
know?
connected to this?"
I know. And he even gives him a look like, "What'd you say?"
yeah,
And he's
He
like
did, like,
looking
it's
at him like,
shocked him
"How'd
at
you
first.
know? Like, how do you know?" Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, it's all over the news." Like
Yeah.
Sensei's, I saw it on social media.
yeah.
That's
basically.
right.
Yeah. It's
But
trending.
Yeah, I think that the dialogue and the writing in this show, I am maybe more, just like locked into every single piece of dialogue. Maybe even more. You talk about. I know this show is compared to Rogue One a lot because similar creators, similar. I mean, obviously Diego
Yeah.
Luna is in Rogue One. That's where Cassian stems from. Definitely has a similar feel. I think that the character building and development is maybe even better in this
Yeah, it
show.
is.
Well,
I
you've
think
got
it is.
more
For sure.
time. You've got a lot
Then
more
again,
time
it's
too.
it's a different medium, but as much as I love Rogue One, I remember at the time when Rogue One came out, some of the criticisms of Rogue One was that some people felt like some of the characters were a little bit surface level of like they fit the plot, but you don't have enough time to dig
Right.
into everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where a show like this, I felt like every single member
Of the heist.
of the heist,
Like I knew them.
When you
each
get into
time
something-
someone's
Yeah.
getting shot at, I'm like, no, not them.
Yeah,
And then I'm like,
no.
well, I don't want any of them to go. But like,
That's right.
you learn why.
That's true.
You've got Vel, Cinta. You've got Gorn. You've got all these different people. Skeen? What's his name? Skeen? What's his name? Who turns on him at the end here?
Come on, guy.
Was it
You're
Skeet?
our name guy.
Hey, I got it.
I
I think it is. Let me go to my list because I
Skeen.
finally am getting all these names down, even though I just forgot it right
Even though we
then.
just lost
Skeen.
them all.
Skeen and Nemec is the manifesto.
No, yeah.
But each one of them, you're like, oh, him because of he talks about his brother is why he's in it. Then Nemec's the young buck. Just he's all for the cause. He
Yep.
believes it,
Yep.
but man, are there some developments in this episode? Obviously, we'll get to Skeen's betrayal or his ulterior motives, which is interesting now rewatching
True.
some of the previous episodes. If we jump right to that, one of the specific things, obviously at the end of the episode, after the heist, which I thought was another brilliant move. In a lot of these heist movies, whether it be an Ocean's movie or one of these other casino type, bank robbery,
Yeah.
there's often someone in the group. The Italian job is like this as well. There's someone in the group who has their own plan,
That's right.
so they
Motive,
can
yeah,
get
yeah.
their.
Yeah.
As we're doing the heist, then I take all the money
Yep,
and
yep,
then I
yep,
betray the
yep,
rest of
yep.
the group. So you kind of expect something like that might happen.
It was the beginning of The Dark Knight, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
what
Joker
it is.
gets
Funny.
He told me the
everybody-
same
The
thing.
Joker told me the same thing. Boom.
That's what I think of it now. Every time
I
there's
know.
a scenario like that, I think of the
So I was
Joker.
keeping it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I killed the bus driver. Bus driver? What bus driver?
What I like though about
But
that,
I was
go
gonna
ahead,
say,
go ahead.
but the heist happens. They're all in it together,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's after the heist,
Right.
and they're going to see a doctor, and they're like out of it, and you think like they did it, they got away with it, and then when Skeen starts talking to Cassian, at first I actually thought like, is he testing?
That's what I
Cassian?
thought
Yeah,
too.
he's trying to
I
see
thought,
his
is he,
heel
is
tag.
he
thought he
trying to
was
see?
I thought he was testing
I
him.
know you're a mercenary. Like maybe, and I thought he was like,
Yeah.
give me a reason to kill you because I still don't. Because I've been testing you the whole time. I don't
Yeah.
buy it.
Yeah.
And I love that they flipped it on its head.
Mhm.
And that the person who's been acting the most in it for the cause, he's mad at Cassian because he thinks Cassian's not in it.
or he
It
lied
actually-
to him. He's
what's-
holding back.
What's funny is when they do the big reveal of him saying like, "Hey, there's 80 million in there. You and I,
Take 40.
take 40 and go." And Cassian's like, "Well, where did that leave me?" And he's like, 40 credits is enough that I can forget all about you."
Mhm.
That's
And
what I was
Cassian
gonna say. I
can't
love
believe
he
that he's
asked that.
like,
Right.
"So no rebellion for you?" And he's like, "No, I'm a rebel. It's the quote you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm a rebel."
me against everybody else."
Mhm.
And then he's like, "But your brother, all that stuff you said about your brother, I don't have a brother." You're like, this dude is
This
a
dude's
liar
a
from the beginning.
snake,
He's
dude.
been playing everybody.
Yeah.
But what it makes me think of is, man, now I really view, if you think about what his true motives are, when you go back to the previous episode where he's grilling, or previous 2 episodes where he's grilling
And
Cassian about,
Think about the tattoos.
yeah, and he's grilling Cassian about, especially the previous episode. He's
Yeah.
grilling him about, oh, why would he bring this? He would bring this
30,000
treasure on
credits.
It's
here.
a
and
treasure
he's-
to a heist.
and,
yeah.
and basically, we can't trust him. What it actually might be is that, is he going to rip all of us off? Because that's my thing. Like, he's not letting other people know, but he's like, I'm worried because I've got a thing here.
True.
And if I have someone
true,
else who's
true.
trying to rip us off,
It's
I'm
very
gonna have
common
to,
that
I'm
we
gonna have to get you
see-
out of here.
we think other people see the world the way we do. So the
Yeah.
the people who are the most untrustworthy or untrusting are often the most untrustworthy
That's it.
Yeah.
because they think I'm going to rip everybody off. Wait a minute, that's probably what he's going to do because that's how
Yeah,
he's,
so we gotta-
he's
I gotta
thinking.
Turn
yeah.
everybody against him.
So I
And
got
the one who's and then
Yeah.
Nemec, who's all in, he trusts
Yeah.
Cassian pretty much from the start.
yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's
could
yeah,
too.
here, and here's also please.
It's like
take
we
my
need,
manifesto.
regardless
I
of
wanna-
whether you trust him or not, we need him.
we need him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need him.
We
Is it-
got Derpy
Brilliant.
Gaming.
Man.
in the chat says, "Hey fellas, the best way I can describe this episode is so it begins and for the rebellion."
I
That's
like it.
good.
I like it.
It is. It's the beginning. It's the
So it
beginning for
begins.
sure.
It's awesome.
It's just what Luthen said in the last episode, or Luthen and his assistant said in the last episode was,
It'll be all over.
by this time tomorrow it'll all be over, and he replies, or it'll just be beginning. You know,
Just beginning.
it'll just be the beginning. So
It's just beginning.
I think it is.
Did you guys know?
So
I
it
saw someone
begins.
post this on Twitter. Post the video. Did you know that K2SO's last? Did you hear this? K2SO's last words to Cassian
Yeah.
when
Oh, I was thinking something else. Good.
K2SO's last words to Cassian Andor in Rogue One, as he's getting shot, and Cassian's on the intercom, K2, and he says, climb, and he says over and over to climb.
Oh, wow.
And then he has to climb out of the, he's
Wow.
telling him and Jen to climb out of the shaft and go, leave
That's
without
right.
me. And he stays and dies. And Nemec's last words in here, and he's
Climb.
telling him he tells him climb and dive.
And he's
Um,
using like the last bit of his energy.
But he's doing
like,
it, climb.
to
He's doing
yell.
the same, and it's just
Wow.
beautiful
Man.
storytelling of
That's cool.
Cassian. And
Wow,
again,
that
it's
is
a little
great.
maybe foreshadowing to the relationship. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I keep
I should
even
make a
forgetting.
TikTok on that.
I keep forgetting.
Do
What's
it.
up? I should get a cut of whatever those.
Yeah.
I should take your idea.
I keep forgetting that eventually, not in this season, I believe, but next season we'll get K2SO. They said
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But
Are
yeah.
y'all troubled
man.
at all by the ruthless nature? I mean, we knew it was coming.
Are you talking about
This is
Cassian?
not. This is not.
Yeah.
This is not Luke's rebellion.
No.
This is not
no,
Leia's rebellion. It doesn't feel like they understand bad things happen. But
Right.
This feels grittier than that.
I don't want this to be taken the wrong way.
By the way, I've got a thing to say on that too. 'Cause I
don't
saw
want this-
someone point some out. I think I
Yeah.
missed initially.
I don't want it to answer your question. I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I kind of like it in a sense that it's different.
Mhm.
I think that's a part of the side of this that's like, yeah, it feels very Star Wars, but that in particular is part of what makes it feel different than the original
It's
trilogy.
more like Rogue One was.
The Luke
yeah.
and Han. It is the okay. There's a debate on whether Han shot first. We're doubling down. Han shot
Right,
first. Like
yeah.
that's
Well-
what this is. It's like
Well, think in Solo.
Cassian gets caught and he goes, "I got to make a decision." Boom, you're gone.
That's right.
You're gone.
Well,
Can't
in-
trust you.
In Solo, his final thing with Tobias Beckett is very similar to this.
Yeah.
He has a relationship with him. He finds out Beckett's, Woody Harrelson's character, has ripped him off.
Yeah. I can't
And
trust him.
he, in the middle of talking with him, boom, pulls out his gun and shoots him. And as Woody's dying, is Tobias Beckett, he said, "This great move, kid. I would have killed you.
Yeah.
Like I was I was going to kill you."
Yep.
And it was one of those things where like it was a ruthless thing, but also
Because they still had that relationship of like,
Han knew Greedo was there to kill
Yeah.
him, and it
That's
is
right.
the
yeah.
all right. I'm gonna get you. I'm not just doing it. It's self-defense in a way that I know you're armed and are ready to kill me,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna beat you to the punch.
Well,
because-
if you're
it's
willing
me or
to-
you,
If you're willing to
yeah.
split 40 and the guy says no, you're probably willing to kill him and take 80.
that's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
exactly.
Is
and I love that. they
also
Cassian just-
is he willing? Do you think that Skeen is willing to allow Cassian to walk around knowing that
Right.
No.
he's gonna betray him?
Right.
That he
right,
didn't
right.
take his offer. He's
Can't
gonna
go
say,
on.
"Hey, do you want it? Let's do this." Oh,
Nah, it's
you're
okay.
not on
Yeah,
board?
okay, let's just forget it.
Bang.
Yep.
He would have taken. He's like, okay, well, I can't have any loose ends. I can't let you know this is my
That's right.
plan because you'll stop it.
Yeah.
So it was him or me, and he did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Derpy's got a good point in the chat. Same thing we kind of touched on a few minutes ago, which was like, where's it go from here? He says, this is easily the best episode so far and very curious what they'll do next from here. So far, this series has been great. It's a halfway point, 6 episodes left. Heard there's going to be some time jumps at some point.
Ooh.
I know the
Um,
next season has a lot of time jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
Covering
know
a lot of
that.
time.
That I believe each 3-episode arc is a 1 year.
Yeah,
I heard that's boom,
Okay.
in the
boom,
next
boom,
season.
boom.
Yeah, I don't know what the
I think
time
this
is in
season 1,
this.
I believe. I believe that Tony Gilroy said this season 1 takes place. I think covers about a year,
Mhm.
and then the next season, and the next one covers about 4 years.
So I could see a few months
So
here.
between it's 5 because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think what the first episode started 5
Because so
years
far it's
before,
been continuous.
Battle of Yavin.
Yes.
I think is what it
Yeah.
said.
So far, it's been like 3-4 days. Like it feels like, or maybe a week. However long they've been.
Yeah, we don't know.
Cassian's been there planning with them, but
Right.
it seems like it's been
Because it's pretty quickly where things go.
because they said what we're doing this plan in a week or something like that.
Yeah, it was
Isn't
a
that-
number of
and, like,
days
that's-
before the
it was,
eye.
like days before. Yeah.
So we've been planning this for months, and he shows up only a few days, 6 days before. Or
Yeah,
however many
something like
days.
that. So it's been about a week or so.
Talking
We
about
got
the
some time jumps coming. Yeah.
yeah, talking about the ruthlessness. So I didn't catch this in my first viewing. I saw someone say
Wow,
something
not a
about
fan.
this.
Didn't
I saw
catch it.
someone say
Probably
this
caught it. What is
on. I saw someone say this on Twitter, and I went back to watch it. And I do think, and I'm just powering through this.
Keep going.
I do think they're onto something. So I was trying to think of where is Cinta is the girl who the other girl, not Vel.
The stormtroopers
Cinta.
killed her whole family.
So we think she stays behind. She doesn't get out on the ship.
Yeah, I know.
Right,
I was
she's still
wondering
there.
So
what's gonna happen with
they
her.
show her at the end of the episode, which I had missed the first time.
They show her walk down.
They show her walk out
Yeah,
with
yeah,
tears
yeah.
on her face.
Yeah.
And talking about the grittiness, did she kill all the hostages?
Ooh.
They said when she left, "Are you able to do this?" And she said, "I will." And then as things are happening, you see her
Man.
like taking deep breaths and like shaking, and then she walks
She is,
out.
and she grabs her weapon.
She grabs her
As
weapon.
soon as she grabbed her weapon, I thought,
and she
oh,
walks out
no.
on her own. And talking about the brutality of
That was
war, or
that was
anything
the
like
family.
That was the family of the wife, the child, and then the other workers who were working
Yeah.
up there. So I don't know if it's confirmed,
Yeah.
but it's certainly. I didn't catch it the first time. It definitely.
I noticed it, but I didn't really think that.
It definitely
deep about it.
suggests. Well, one, they left her there. Like, I mean, not like left her like betrayed her or anything like that, but like it was
But,
part of
like-
the plan that she
like-
wasn't
Yep.
going to go with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they were all, mouth taped up, hands tied, unarmed. But I don't know if the rebellion, upon its getting its start, wants to leave. I mean, they saw all that happen. I don't know if they would leave loose ends, like that they would leave these people alive, thinking that they might be able to identify all of them.
Yeah.
So it suggests possibly, and maybe we'll learn more next episode, that part of the dirtiness of this plan is that she also then has to get rid of all the hostages at the very end.
Yeah.
Which talk about that's different than Han shot first with someone's got a
Yeah.
gun on you. This is a little
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
It's something sometimes with a
This
lot
is
of times.
this is unarmed. This
What
is,
does the evil side do a lot of times is like, well, you know our plan. We can't just let you walk away.
Right.
You don't usually see that on the rebellion side or on the
Yeah.
good side, or at least I can't think of any example in Star Wars, if that is the case, that we've seen.
Yeah.
That
did
that
notice
definitely
her
feels
cry.
a little Saw Gerrera-esque.
It does.
As far as
Yeah.
like any
Yes.
ends justify
Yeah.
the means.
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned Saw too, because
We're headed there.
Building off that, I think that might be some of the direction we're going, is leaning in towards Saw, and then do we see a point, or I guess the big question for me at this point is, how far along is Saw in his thinking? Like, is he already past the point where there's people that are part of the Rebel Alliance that are like, okay, like Saw is already extreme? Like, is he already at that point, or
Yeah.
does that come later on?
I think he
Because-
is. I'm trying to think of the timeline of when he's like in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So Saw is in Clone Wars.
Right.
I'm trying to think of what his mental state was like then, and
they
I think
tease it some. In
he's
Clone
like pushing
Wars.
it a little bit, but this is definitely much closer to Rogue One now. Again, it's still 5 years out, so
right.
I don't think it's to the point where I definitely don't think it's. Well, these guys. Okay, so this group talks
Yeah.
about Saw Gerrera in a negative light, right? In that first scene when they all are on Aldhani, is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
When they're sitting there and
Yeah.
He
the
would've
one
shot
dude's
ya.
sleeping and they sneak up on him. They're like, "What do you think Saw Gerrera or so and so
Yeah.
or them or the Empire would do if they found someone sleeping?" They group him in with this group of like extremists, and they kind of
Yeah.
suggest then that he's out there. I think is kind of how they suggest it.
And
This
he's
might
already known.
These might be his people.
Yeah.
True. This
He's
is
just not there. He's doing something
definitely because at the
Or
time of
Luthen
Rogue
with
One, it feels like in Rogue One, it has become relatively recent that they have decided that Saw is finally irredeemable, right? Because then they're like, he's actually now a liability so much. So we're sending
need him
Jin.
gone. We need
We're
him
sending
gone.
Jin. Did you come here to kill me? Like
Yeah.
they're sending Jin and
He's not-
Cassian
yeah.
to go wipe him out, to go
Right.
take him out. Not even to have the Empire do it. Like we need to. You're a danger. So it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like, obviously, I don't think he's at that point yet, because that's what we see happen 5
Yeah.
years from now. But
But
maybe
that
it
doesn't
might be
mean
it doesn't mean that,
that
he
doesn't
hasn't
mean there's
already broken
moments.
with the group, or
Yeah.
that like maybe Mon Mothma already knows who he is and is like,
Yeah.
Maybe.
we distance ourselves from him, or
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see.
I don't think a guy like Saw goes from he's walking a fine line of the good side of the rebellion to one day now he's extreme.
No, it's steps. You
he
cross
he
the
gets
line,
here
you
and then
cross
there's
the
one
line.
act that you're like, yo, that was too far.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's another act. And it's another. So I wonder if he's at the point where he's already committed some of those. Like people are seeing him as a little extreme, but overall he's still doing good, I guess, in the eyes of the rebellion. So it'll be interesting to see his involvement with this, and if they'll use him as the character for this series to be. This is what it looks like to go too far in this moment, to where
Mhm.
Cassian or even other guys are like, dude, that's a little extreme, or like. In this scenario, we didn't need to get rid of hostages, but Saw did it anyway. Just as an example,
Mm-hmm.
like those types of things. I wonder if we'll see some of that from him. But yeah, Derpy in the chat said, "Oh, I didn't realize that either." He was talking about, I believe, the cry,
Cinta.
the tear. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said also a little side note: Tales of the Jedi's this month too. Let's go! Tales of the
know.
Jedi is
I
gonna
love
be
it.
great. Can't wait for that.
26th.
How about the new Imperial we got this episode, J-Hold, was so great because
Just drop the J.
yeah, exactly. He is so despicable.
A-hole.
Like they do such. It's a great joke.
He's terrible.
He's so. How about the way
It's a perfect. He's the perfect.
it is the perfect? How about the symbolism too of
exactly right.
when they introduce him and he's become too fat,
Oh,
Yeah,
satisfied to even
right.
get his belt on.
It's
We're like,
exactly
this is
what
literally what
Cassian
they've been
said.
talking about.
And
Cassian
blind.
literally
He's
said
12.
they've
He can
become
dress
so-
himself. Get over here and help me get my shirt on.
Yeah.
He's such a jerk.
He's completely blinded.
When you just see immediately how much of a jerk he is to his own wife and kid,
Right.
Yeah.
you're like, this dude is so
That's what makes me feel bad about the wife and kid, because they actually seemed like they were against some of
stuck
the.
there,
They
too.
looked like they were against some of the stuff that was going on against the
Yeah.
Empire, but he was involved.
He, I love though. He mentioned with Luthen, they become so fat and satisfied, and
Yeah.
how they're blind to stuff that's going on. And throughout this episode, there's so many instances of that. One, the literal, he has gained weight. He cannot. She said, "Well, perhaps you've expanded." He's like, "Oh, something they've messed up my clothes." Oh, perhaps you've expanded.
Right.
Yeah.
But I love
Yeah.
when he's going on and on as they're dressing him, and he's talking about this ceremony and the eye and all this stuff, and he's talking about the Donnies, and he just talks about them like they're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And he has one quote that's like, "Oh, they failed to notice," and he's talking about this so and so compromise, and it's like we just step on them and step on them and step on them, and then we concede and give them this land, and then he says they failed to notice. We gave them nothing that they thought they wanted to start with. He's like, in
Right.
the end, you think you're conceding, but we're actually just giving them nothing. And he's like, we just continue, and they'll do
Yeah.
nothing about it. And I love
They'll
it's just
take
the
what-
smug and the
yeah.
arrogance of right before he dies.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he's saying, like basically the morning of, like the whole time he's annoyed with this ritual. He's
Yeah.
annoyed with the giving of the pelts, and he's like, ugh. He's like plugging his nose, like even being
Mhm.
around them.
Yeah.
He hates it, and he's
It's
like, all right,
gross.
let's make this quick. Let's get out of here. He's even talking with his wife. He's like, I know we don't want to be here. Let's get off
Yeah.
of this planet. And he's like, oh, we have to go through this little thing.
And then they take the pelt and just throw it in the fire.
Yeah.
They take the
Yeah.
pelt, throw it in the fire. There's so
It's
many
exactly, he's
different.
exactly right.
Yeah.
The
It's-
writing of it is it's on
so
the money. Who's
good.
writing the show?
I believe Tony Gilroy is the showrunner, and I know he and I believe his brother are doing a lot of the writing. I think there
Okay.
might be some other writers
Hmm.
as well. But Tony Gilroy, he's the one who's done the Jason Bourne stuff, and
Yep.
he's the one
Yeah.
who came in and directed and did all the redirecting of Rogue One and finished Rogue One.
Yeah.
And kind of gets a lot of credit for the finished product of Rogue One, is the one who's doing this. And so it's his creative kind of voice and his stamp on
The
everything
writing
that
has
they're doing.
been
It's
great.
Yeah.
writing
it
is
really
so
has.
good.
Captured the Imperial
Yeah.
The Imperials,
mindset,
yes.
attitude, everything.
There's
Yeah.
so many different imperial moments in this too. I love that so I wrote down one of the things that stood out to me is as the heist is going on, and the people outside are still so mesmerized with the eye,
Mm-hmm.
not just the which is also we talked about like colonial, like British Empire. We talked
Right.
about different. When I watched it this morning with subtitles on, the subtitles they have for the Aldani's actually says pilgrims. It's interesting that it says that on there.
Huh. Yeah.
It says pilgrims on as far as who's speaking.
That
It
is
says
kind of
pilgrims.
what that. Yeah.
So it's interesting they say that,
Yeah.
and it's like they've got the skins, and they've got
It's
and
like
then
a
you've got like
yeah.
the big fresh British Empire and like the whole.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
It's just it's interesting that it said that. But one of the things I noticed was while things are going awry and people are back there dying, they're robbing them blind. Some of the guys are getting like alarms are going off and they're like, you gotta go. And one of the soldiers I wrote down one of the soldiers' quotes. He said, "Where are we going?" And they go, "Down to the vault." He said, "But we'll miss the eye." And they're like, these guys are still so blind to what's going on that they want to see. Even though I'll admit, the eye is all it's cracked up to be.
It was worth missing
It's-
whatever was
It
going
is,
on.
but some of their
Yeah.
coworkers are getting slaughtered back there.
Mhm.
They're getting robbed blind. This person, for all we know, his quarterly
We'll
income
miss
is
the
getting
eye.
stolen
Is it
right
there?
out
He
the
doesn't
door.
know. Yeah.
He
right.
doesn't know. He's like, but we gotta go now. We'll miss the eye. And then I even like
I love it.
when Lieutenant Gorn's talking to a few of them, and they're like, "Sir, anything else?" He's like, "No, you can go. Enjoy the eye." Like, "Thanks, sir." And they're like
He's
so
just
giddy,
ready to
just like,
go.
"Ah." And
Yeah.
it's funny. They're so blind to
Yeah.
what's going on
It's crazy. Yeah.
that it's like the simple distraction of we'll use this as distraction.
Mm-hmm. It worked perfectly.
And it's
for
a big
that.
cultural event for them, but it's also like it's a cultural event for the Donnies. Like they
Yeah.
find significance in
Yeah.
it. The other guys are just like,
Sacred
we'll
Valley.
gather here, and this is one good thing about being on this crappy planet is we just get to stare at this
Yeah.
light
See
show
that, right?
while we just
Yeah.
rob you blind right behind
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Well, it's just
No,
I
that's
love
good.
the writing.
Yeah.
The writing's so good.
Dirtby says again, you said you fellas are gonna laugh at this, but I saw some people saying that the show is better than The Godfather. Which he says is a weird comparison. But
Wow.
It's a
you
weird
go.
comparison.
I
We're
wouldn't
gonna
go
have to
that far.
Wait
That's-
a couple of
that's
decades
kind
to
of a crazy
That's hard. That is-
comparison.
I mean, it's
But-
easily better than Citizen Kane, but
I know.
clearly
It's
Clearly.
one thing. I know it's better. It's higher than one thing on Uncle's list, and that's The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz is terrible. No, it's a great movie. It's in my top 5, but it's terrible. I mean,
But it just didn't age. It doesn't age.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
It
not.
doesn't hold up.
And all the metrics we use,
up.
in every metric
it.
we use, it falls short. I mean, it's 100.
I love-
It's 100.
I
Rotten
want someone to
Tomatoes.
take this
Is it
slap and
actually
put it-
100?
I think it's probably 99. It's ridiculously high. It's higher than Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that's I
hilarious.
use that.
love it.
I use
love
Citizen
it.
Kane as an example because I think that's universally
It's so good.
considered.
Well, it's definitely beats
often-
Breaking Bad.
Citizen Kane is often
Right.
used as Citizen and The Godfather are
Yeah.
often used as arguably the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like most people
Yeah,
would
yeah,
say
yeah.
that's up there. So maybe we have to wait a little bit, but this show is to me
That episode.
exceeding. Even though we came in, for anyone who's watched our podcast for a little while, we've been excited about this show.
Yeah.
And once we saw even some of the trailers and we saw like the vibe and like what it looked like, we thought we even have said some things before like, ooh, I mean, we're big fans of Kenobi. Really enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. Obviously, big fans of both season 1 and season 2 of Mando. And we were like, there's a chance because of the different style of storytelling.
Yeah,
How
this
what
they
could
they're
approach it.
be
gonna
my
be doing.
favorite.
Like,
We
Yeah.
said this it'll be interesting. There's a chance that this could end up being one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars
Yeah.
shows. Like if
There's
it's
a
approached-
lot of positive.
but this is blowing
feedback
away my
on social
expectation
media.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's blowing away.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't think they could do it, but I think I even tweeted about it this morning and said I came in with really high expectations, but every single episode I think, wow, that was so smart of what they did there, or that
Yeah.
dialogue is so like I'm writing down even when we're not even doing the like some of the quotes I wrote down not even just for podcast purposes, but I'm like, what a very
I like it.
well written way to get that point across, or
Yeah.
what a directorial choice to have Luthen do what he does non-verbally, and it tells you everything you need to know.
Anytime he's on the screen, even at the end of this episode, I'm like, his acting is phenomenal.
I mean,
Yeah.
Even
last-
just like you said, non-verbal, but just goes in and smirks, chuckles in the back room,
Yep.
is just giddy and happy
It was
about.
great.
Even going back
it's
to last
going around,
episode,
it started, and it's just
Mhm.
like, dude, just so good.
even going back to last episode, I could have watched an hour straight of Karn and his mother eating breakfast. And it's like, but it's because like
because
Yeah.
Blue Milk.
it's the feel, it's the feel of
Blue
it.
Milk
It
and
immediately tells you
Reese's
how.
Puffs.
It immediately tells you like he's a disappointment to his family. Like his
Yeah.
mother's like, you never should have left home, honey, and becomes heart. And we get, Ma, don't
Yeah.
call Uncle. I gotta call Uncle Jack or whatever his name was.
Any closer.
Yeah, they become Harvey Firestein.
Lewis in the
Oh.
chat says best episode yet.
So
Derpy
good,
says I
man.
agree. It really is so good. This is the best show for me because the storytelling and its different side of the story of Star Wars we haven't seen yet. Mando is continuing this in a unique style. Mando does kind of have its own unique
Mando
vibe.
definitely has a
unique vibe,
Mando,
which is different than this.
yeah.
They're both unique in their own way, which feels very different than, the trilogies, the films.
Mando intentionally has a serial like
It's chapters for a reason.
it's a mission of the week kind of a feel
Yeah.
about
It's
it because
not
it is like
episodes.
this Western. It feels John Wayne, Clint Eastwood rolls into town, gets
Yeah.
in a thing, has to rescue this. You have to. That's why some people have said, and I don't think this is a negative, said it feels almost video game like of like, oh, I have to go do this, but first. Cobb Vanth needs my help
Yeah.
slaying this dragon. I do this, and
Gotta
then I
grind
get
a
the
little
credits I need to get the parts,
get
so then
to
I
the
can
right.
go
One
to
chapter,
this.
next
Right.
chapter.
And I love it, especially because there was no Star Wars before Mando. I love Mando so much, and
Yeah.
couldn't be more excited for season 3 of Mando. I think that you can both love Mando and also love
The
that
uniqueness
this is
of-
different than
yeah.
Mando,
Mhm.
because I don't want every Star Wars thing to feel the same.
I think they've all felt.
I love that they're different. I love that
different, yeah.
I loved Obi-Wan so much, and I thought it felt different than
Yeah.
Mando, different than Boba Fett, and this is definitely different than all of those.
Yeah.
And I think that people probably appreciate. I would go on a limb and say people probably appreciate this more because we've had those other things, and not meaning like, oh, we had something that maybe
I
disappointed
agree.
you, and now you have something that's like.
But because it's different.
But because it's different, you're now.
It's not different without
we've
having
used-
the other stuff already.
We've used the food
Yeah.
analogy before on here. Like, because I had this food, I am now in the mood for not another steak, but actually for ice cream afterwards.
Right.
That's gonna be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're in the mood for a different thing because of
Right.
what came before it. And
Right.
it doesn't mean one's necessarily the
Doesn't
right
mean
way
you
or
hate
anything.
steak now.
Doesn't mean- I love steak.
hate steak.
Well, you
All
like that
this-
show? You only like that because steak is terrible.
Hey, this guy Mike hates steak. All the steak people are gonna come after me. I love steak. I love steak.
Steak.
Hey Jerry, I heard you don't like steak.
It's steak, baby. Oh, it's steak.
Mike Kramer, I love steak.
I love steak.
Give me some A1. It's A1, baby.
But no, you're right. I mean,
I love that it's different.
different, and you
Yes.
can enjoy the different.
You know what I
You know.
think about it? That what I think is so unique about it is we are. So Mando did this a little bit. They blur the line between what is. There's no clear right and wrong.
Yes.
But Mando had a moral compass.
Yes.
Now all of that comes into question whether or not it's.
You mean
the right-
actually Mando the character?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
There is a moral compass, and then things challenge that and push him one way or the other. In this, there is no. It's hard to tell who the good guys are.
If you took
they're-
snapshots
Right.
of the moments, you would say, like, we're watching
That's a
this
good-
and they're
oh,
doing a
that's not
heist, and the whole time I'm thinking they're the good guys, but this is very
Not.
much a bank robbery.
It's a bank robbery.
So
Exactly.
it's
we
like
have hostages.
the
we have-
hostages. I'm like, this is
You also
yeah.
have villains mixed in there
yeah.
Yes.
who are not interested in anything remotely
Anything.
or to
Yep.
do with
They're
anything but themselves.
yeah.
So you watch, you're like, who is the good guy here?
Yeah.
Cassian's he's for hire.
He's
just
a
came in
mercenary.
for money.
Right.
So
Skiing was one of the supposed
clearly
good
is
guys.
not even
One of the supposed good guys.
Right?
It was worse than all of them.
It's
And so it's like now we've got
Yeah.
everything is all fuzzy.
Yeah.
yeah.
and then
it's
you got-
I think that's
so
what
you
pe-
got-
that's what,
You
yeah.
got people, Imperial the lieutenant who is now turned,
yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You got one of the,
I
one of the
love
rebels
that, by
who
the
was
way.
basically turned.
Well, and what's
all-
what's her name?
Yeah.
It's all off.
Dedra. Dedra? The Imperial, the blonde Imperial. We didn't get much for this episode. That I find myself kind of rooting for her to figure out what's going on with the
She's
rebellion.
an underdog.
It's
Like,
kind of
isn't
like
that interesting?
you
That,
want her to.
You want her
rank up.
Nobody listens to her.
because the smug Imperial officers and because
It's
they're
like, that
not
was
paying
out of the
her any
handbook.
attention.
That's wrong.
Because they're not paying her any attention. It's a small thing. You're like, no, girl, tell him. It's bigger than that. Tell him. Tell him. Crush the rebellion with one swift stroke. And now all of a sudden I'm Tarkin.
Right.
That's I feel
That's
like
how they suck you in.
Exactly.
that's the Norm Macdonald bit of everybody says they want to, if they had a time machine, they go back and kill Hitler. Except I'd be afraid I'd go back and all of a sudden I'd get hypnotized and all of a sudden I'm one of the guys. I'm part of him. And all of a sudden now I'm like, oh, it's way worse. At least I wasn't a part of it before. Now I'm the one doing it.
He's got those eyes.
Something about those eyes.
Yeah,
no,
that's
it's,
nice.
no, it is.
I think that's what
it
makes
is
it so
interesting.
interesting, though, because
It is.
Fascinating. The
I
character
don't. I mean,
development.
I got to tell you, I'm not rooting for a rebellion who's killing children. I'm not.
That's
No.
what I'm saying.
I'm not
is if
championing
that
that
is
cause.
no,
So
that's
they're gonna.
that's what's
So you can
interesting.
see. It makes it easier to see how some people will go. Those are the bad guys.
It's
Wait,
a
what are you
little
talking about?
lost-
Those are the bad guys.
It's
No,
a little
no,
lost
no, no, you don't
stars.
understand. Those are the bad guys.
No, and that's the thing.
totally
is,
makes sense.
Depends
And-
on who. That's when we reference lost stars a
Yeah.
lot. If you're just one of the people who doesn't know the bigger picture and the big oppression of what's going on,
That's right.
that doesn't see that smug Imperial who's talking about how we abuse the Donnies and there's nothing they will do about it
They don't
because
see
they
that.
let us do it. They
That's
don't see
right.
that. Some of the day-to-day people that maybe know, oh, I've seen some stuff and I kind of turned a blind eye, or I don't know the extent of it. But then they know one of their friends who was in the Imperial Academy gets sent off to this space station. They don't know it's called the Death Star. And then they know that it's people snuck in and intentionally blew it up and killed everyone. They think
this
my
guy's a
friends-
terrorist.
these were terrorists who killed.
Yeah.
And that's and so I like what you're saying there of like, especially if it is confirmed that they are actually killing unarmed women and children because they don't want to leave a trace.
Yeah.
You're like, where is the line?
Yeah.
Where is the? I mean, we often refer
And-
other shows on here. We like
so
to talk
you
about.
win. What are you gonna
We
do
like
then?
to talk about Galadriel in Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's talked about how
Says the same
her
thing.
team mutinied against her, and she's like, it was hard at first, except then it was the hardest when I realized that they could no longer distinguish between me and the enemy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because
and that's what's
I
happening
then
right
crossed
here.
lines, and I
That's
would
right.
do anything for revenge.
Yeah.
And so it is. This is
Yeah.
not. We know which side is the good side. We know where the rebellion goes. We know Luke and Leia. We know, but we also
But
know
that
that
doesn't mean
in,
the acts. Some
we
of the
also
acts
know
to
that
get there are
somewhere in
good.
there is Saw Gerrera.
Right.
Yeah.
We also know that
This
somewhere
could
in there.
be part of his faction.
That's we know that somewhere in there. We know
Yeah.
that
Well-
Andor talks about in Rogue One and there's been novels and stuff that he talks about. There are things in the like you don't know what I've had to do
Right.
in the name of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
like it has not been. We talked
It's
about
not
one of the
just
things we wanted to
cutting-
see
It's
from
It's
this
not
show.
black
Pretty.
and white. It's not black
We
and white.
talked
Not
about
pretty.
there's one. I think I heard last thing. I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant.
Yeah,
But
this
I heard,
guy ran.
I heard one. I heard someone
Rant,
earlier today.
rant,
rant.
I heard someone earlier today say some of these, like there's some. He was talking about the vibe of this show, and he said there's some moments in like Rogue One or in some other Star Wars shows where there's like an awkward little tense moment of like, oh, there's a line. Like someone says a line about being like, oh, this is what happened to me, and this is the like this was the boot of the Empire on our throat, and
Right.
you don't know what I went through, and it's like a line.
Yeah.
And then Tony Gilroy then said, great, let's make a whole season
That's
of
the
it
whole
feeling
thing.
like that. The whole thing, like
Mhm.
you never feel like it lets up.
Right.
The whole time you feel, this whole episode you're afraid they're going to get
another
caught.
I know.
And then you're afraid of, well,
But
what
then
are they
you're
gonna,
also like,
what are they
ooh,
going
that's
to
kind of
what are they going to do to
that's-
not get caught?
wow.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll rest
think-
now. My throat is sore.
Take a
I've said
breather.
enough. I've said
I
enough.
was imagining when the
I am
Emperor,
Luthen at the end.
I was imagining when Vader lands on the Death Star to speed up production, and he's walking through. You're falling behind, and the guy standing on the line, once he walks by, goes, "This is called the Death Star." It's like, what did I sign up for? Oh, did he say Death Star?
Did I hear that
What am
correctly?
I doing here?
Who are we
Yeah.
killing?
No, I think what's interesting
Weekend
about
of
It's
this
a
series.
space station. It's too big to be a space station.
Yeah. I think what's interesting
Even
about
his
the
friends are
series
selling
too
that.
is
Buddy, it's too big to be a space station. I'm afraid we're on the Death Star.
What? Crud.
Oh, gosh.
yeah. No, I think what's
Yeah, he
interesting
says,
about the
yeah.
series is that it's not just like it goes both ways. They're portraying like here's the rebels, the good side, but there's bad involved.
Yeah.
And we joke about the imperial officers, or the lowers, I guess, the enlisted that would be coming up to the officers saying, but we're gonna miss the show, or we're gonna miss the we joke about that. We joke about that, but I think it's so intentional because it's also showing that among the Empire, who's bad, there's misled good people that are getting caught in the crosshairs of all of it too, because it really shows, like, that makes me think that's the 18-year-old in Lost Stars who's grown up, taught, hey, yeah, you can go to the Imperial Academy, you can go to school, you can become a pilot, get a job, get paid, do something raise a family, provide for your family, and they're like, yeah, that's the way of things. That's the way to do it. That's great. That's good. I'm providing good. So then you get guys like that we're seeing in these moments that they're teasing from the Empire, that with those lines, that you're like, oh, and now here's someone who's kind of an innocent person that's a part of the Empire that you're like, well, now I kind of feel bad for this guy. He's caught up in it and doesn't even know better.
He just really wants to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. That's
all
all he wants to do. And now
then they'll highlight the lieutenants that are like, okay, well, they're clearly evil, taking coffee sips at the same time, looking upon
the simultaneous coffee sip.
I love it.
So I think it's very very intentional to show.
So I brought this.
Here's the group of
Lieutenant.
Here's the group of
Shall
imperial, officers that are like, you're clearly evil, and you're evil, as opposed to the lower guys that they're showing that are like, you might just be caught up in the wrong thing. You didn't know better. Not that that's justifiable. You should know better, probably, right? You should maybe be more aware, but also recognizing that they it helps having read Lost Stars, because you get to see a little bit more explanation of some of the characters that kind of look Mike touched on, that are not just don't see it, they're flat out lied to.
Oh yeah,
like they are manipulated.
People forget Palpatine is maybe above all else there are people who are bad and brilliantly evil.
Yeah,
he's a brilliantly masterful manipulator and deceiver. He's
convincing entire planets that the Empire's good, they're coming in to help, and they actually believe it. Like, it's not just like him telling this, it's like you have to believe it. It's
almost got Mandalore.
No, they're good.
I mean, they had to fight to get it back.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting, because I think that is something that with those lines like that this show is showing you both sides. There's people that are conflicted. There's the good and bad on the Empire. There's the good and the bad on the Rebel. The Rebel, the Rebels,
ugly.
the Rebellion.
On both of them.
Ugly. Well, there's a lot.
We're sticking with
and the bad.
I was going to save that for the end, but can we talk about the ugly?
Are you talking about our ugly doc? Our ugly doctor with his chest arms?
That was fantastic.
That was Maz Kanata's husband or something.
Yeah.
With the goggle eyes.
I need some stitches out here.
Who are you? I've seen
Where's
your
my
eyes. I like
Don't
that.
talk about the Wookiee anymore.
I like that Wookiee.
I like that.
Where's
But
my
yeah,
boyfriend?
I think it's interesting because it definitely shows they're highlighting some of that.
So how about,
I love the doc.
I think this was a
The
great,
forearms.
So great.
one thing that I think in the early episodes, and it's not a criticism at all, I think it's just been highlighted even more, is the way they're developing Cassian's character. Of the early episodes, he's clearly the main character. The show's named after him. But a lot of his stuff is nonverbal, or he gets into his big confrontation or his big back and forth talking with Luthen, but a lot of it is like a little bit stoic or like a little bit of stern a lot of times. But he's like really stepping up, especially when it came to the heist and taking charge, and like is very vocal. And they're really highlighting his importance of, well, one, they talk about the importance of Nemec, who they don't get out of there without him. He's got the coordinates, he's got the thing, and he's telling them to get out of there. But also, Cassian's got to fly this thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
his choice. This show is all about choices. And
We
the
gotta
choices
go.
that people make, the good ones or the bad ones. Like we talked about, the Rebellion might have. We'll see what they confirm maybe with Cinta's
more
character.
commonly, just the tough ones. You get
The
caught
tough ones,
having to
Cinta
make a decision.
Cinta might have made some tough choices in the name
Like,
of the
you
Rebellion,
have to,
taking out
whether
those
good
hostages.
or bad. You gotta decide.
Yeah.
But him deciding, it shows what he's about when they're trying to escape. The kid can't feel his legs. He's very critically injured, and they're like, we gotta get out of here, and they're saying
Juice them up.
trying to get him to a doctor and this, and they're like, we don't have time for this, and Cassian said, where's the doctor? And he's like, we're taking him to the doctor.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's not gonna let him die.
Not
Or,
asking.
like, he's
Yeah, I
not
want your
without
input
trying.
on that.
What'd you say?
I want your guys' thoughts on that because
Cassian?
because I think Cassian the week before would not have done that. I think he would have been more out for let's just get out of here. Like we got to get ourselves safe.
Well, I
Whereas
think that
now
kid's
he also
conviction-
just the convictions, but also he saved him 5 minutes before.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
He saved
And
Cassian
that
right then.
makes Cassian think, okay, if he
I may
literally
disagree
saved
with
my
you.
life.
Oh,
I
here,
may-
Uncle.
I may take umbrage.
Oh,
Mm.
Dolores Umbridge?
I think it is connected to being saved, but I think Cassian has a spot for the hopeful.
Mm.
There's something in him that is drawn to the hopeful.
Hmm.
A hopeful and innocence. I think those things are things that he'll fight for.
Yeah, I see that.
And I see that. I also see the same thing. That's what drew him to Jin. The same kind of hopeful quality
Sure.
to it. That he was like,
Rebellion
he saw
was
her
built on
as
hope.
different.
Yeah.
As different. And maybe it could
No,
be
I'm
the
with-
same.
No, I think you're right because it kind of it's almost relatable because they tease his background where he came from,
yeah.
and it was he gets out of there and gets a found family
That's
basically.
right.
His whole life has been clinging on to hope, I guess.
Well,
Yeah,
and he
and-
spent
and-
time in a detention center.
His
It looked
innocence
like
Yeah.
was
it
taken from a young age.
Yep.
He was
yeah,
faced hardship from an early
No, I could
age.
see that.
And
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
he
sense.
sees
That's a
that.
great point.
I think he might have that might be his emotional compass.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
hopeful,
I
the
could see
innocent, the hopeful person.
yeah.
If you see good, if you can, and also trusting people that are trusting, I think he will rise up to it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not.
no, I think
No,
that's
I
a
think
great
so.
point.
I mean,
For
the,
sure.
the
I think
friend that he shot
he's
in
continuing
Rogue
to grow.
One was
Yeah.
How about
I
the
think
fact
he's
that
leaning more and more into that too
Yeah.
as he grows to the character that we find in Rogue One.
right.
he's not
continuing
Still
to
ruthless,
grow,
but
well
to
even as
grow
a
towards that as he starts figuring out I do want to be a part of the rebellion, not just
hmm
for hire.
yeah.
and again
Yeah.
he's not there yet, but a big step I think is when
Andor.
he dies on the operating table and his
Andor.
manifesto is left for Cassian. The
Yes.
kid insists that Cassian gets involved.
Yeah.
You know, one thing, it was shocking once he shoots Skeen and kills him. My immediate thing was like I
That's
thought
how
like
you
good he
explain
probably
it.
would have beat him. I thought how is he going to explain
explain
that?
this?
Exactly.
And then he walks in and he's got his gun out and I'm like, dude, they're not going to believe you. Like, where's Skeen? He's dead. He just says right away, he's dead. He was going to
Yeah.
betray you and this, and she's like, but I liked again. Their writing is so
There's
good.
something about that girl too that's like.
But his writing also, like in the writing of
Well,
how
you
he
know why he
talks.
came in with a gun, right? You know why?
Why he came in with a gun
Yeah.
in case
There,
they're working together,
she had the same plan. He
Yeah.
just beat
Yeah.
it to it.
and then
Right.
maybe he would
Yeah.
walk in and she's already ready
She's
for
already
him or
gonna
something
do
happens.
It's like
something on
you're
the
not the
other
right
side.
person to walk in here. It was
Right.
supposed to be the other guy. What happened?
Exactly.
So I loved
I
the
don't know.
writing of his dialogue because they convey a lot about her character, how smart she is, and how much she can
Right.
read people as well. When she talks about, where's Skeen? He's like, he was dead. He was going to betray us and take all the money. And she's like, he would never do that. And he said, yes, think about that. Think about that he said, think
Yeah,
about that actually.
yeah.
Think if he would. Or I can't remember the exact quote, but he said, really think about that. And she doesn't fight him on it.
No.
Because then she's like, there might be something deep in her gut that like, I think that he would do that.
Yeah, he
like
could do
even though
that.
he seemed for
Or
the
even
cause.
if I don't think he
I'm
would,
not-
do I fully trust him that
you're right.
That
You're
it's
right that
not
there
a
maybe now
possibility?
that you're saying to think about it, there's some doubt there.
Yeah.
And
Instead
when
of
he
just this
gives
back and
her
forth,
the,
just
and when he
think about it.
gives her the, it's
Yep.
worth tons. And he
He also
says,
says, "I'm
all
only-
I want is what I'm paid. You
That's
take
it.
everything.
All
Yeah.
the rest
Yeah.
is
Hard
out
to
there in
argue
the
with
ship.
that.
Because then
it's
you're like,
hard
well,
to not think he's lying. Because like otherwise, if
Why,
he
he
did
could
take
kill
the
the
rest of
guy,
it.
you'd be like, well, yeah,
I'd
you're
already
in
be
here to
dead.
take the rest of it.
That's
I'd
right.
take the 80 million. I'd be out of here.
Yeah.
And he held up the end of the bargain of Luthen saying, give it back to me or whatever
That's right.
when I see you next or
So give
whatever
this
it
back.
was. So he said, take it.
And that's very trusting. He
Yeah.
gave her everything. He gave her all the money,
Yep.
all the credits,
Yeah.
gave her the thing.
Hear that?
I also think there's something
That's
about
pretty cool.
her where it's like, even though she doubted him for a second, where she's like, he wouldn't do that, but then kind of realized, okay, maybe that's a possibility. There's something about her knowing, I guess, maybe being at the status that or the involvement that she is with the group, but also being the connective piece between Luthen, where she understands like the bigger game that's being played.
Yeah.
Like it feels like she's like
she's involved
she's
in
not just like she wouldn't write those possibilities off of like, yeah, we lost everybody, and
Mhm.
like there's a possibility that someone in our group could have had a plan the whole time to turn on us.
Right.
Like it seems like she like nothing really shocks her. Like for a second, because she knew the guy, she was like, no, he wouldn't do that.
She wasn't really
but
close to him.
but she wasn't like shocked. Like
Think
she
she was
wasn't
like,
just
right,
like
right.
No.
It seems like nothing really surprises her. She's like, okay, that that can make sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
immediately it was just like, oh well, he wanted you to have this, and I don't know. I think
Mhm.
her character.
So interesting.
I hope we get to see more of her because, and I mean obviously
I really like her,
I
Vel.
hope we'll see more with Luthen, but I really
Very
think
interesting.
really want to see more of Vel because her character seems really interesting, and of the people there, it seems like we got a little bit more history on some of the other ones because
Yeah.
they were introducing them.
That's right.
And we know there's
don't
a
have much
connection
about
between
her.
her and Luthen, but I feel like there's still like we didn't really get a lot of background of her, and I would be interested to hear kind of see more
I
about.
feel like
her
we
involvement in
may
everything.
not, but
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I agree. I don't necessarily think
we might
I don't
be-
know if we will or not, but
Yeah.
that's something that intrigues me because I'm like, what?
That would be cool.
Why is she playing the role that
How
she
they make
like?
that connection where
Even
she
though
could-
the other
yeah.
guy was lying, we still had a story of like,
Yeah.
oh, his brother, what is? So we at least at the time we thought, okay,
Right.
this is his story. But with
Yeah.
her, I'm kind of curious of like, what is? There's more to it. I
Yeah.
feel. But
So we talked about last episode, and this might be a good way to kind of start wrapping the review a little bit. We talked last episode about predictions of what we thought,
who we thought was
who-
going to die.
and
yikes!
We were
only
all right.
yeah, just about everyone we
Right.
mentioned.
Yeah.
So the only three that we know that made it out, if we assume Cinta's still okay, because we
Right.
saw her there,
Yeah.
so we assume she's still undercover, I
Yep,
guess,
yep.
or
Mhm.
got some escape. And then Vel and Cassian.
Yeah.
But Lieutenant Gorn went out. Tamarin? How do you say the other?
Yeah,
the
the
former
Yeah.
stormtrooper.
Those are my two
Yeah.
picks.
Yeah,
They went
they
down first, I was
both
like,
went out.
I
I
told you.
know.
Another
Well,
thing.
I thought the officer too, because that just seems like a
can't-
typical.
Yeah.
You're an officer of the Empire. You betray. It seems like
Oh,
you're
gosh.
usually the one to
Lieutenant
kinda go
Gorn-
out.
Gonna be
in
out
the-
front.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Gorn has a great quote when he's talking to J-Hold.
Oh yeah.
and
it's
he's
so
talking
great.
to him about,
You'll
you'll
hang for
hang
this."
for this.
He
He
goes,
said, after serving you for, what do you say, 7
9
years?
years or
9
something?
years. He's like, I
deserve
deserve a
worse.
lot worse than that. Basically, like, that I allowed
It's like-
you to do this. Like, it's
Yeah.
that's I can live with that because I can't
Mhm.
live with what I allowed.
Yeah.
I worked for you that long.
He's saying that is
That in
working for
itself
you was worse than
is worse than that.
being hanged for this. Yeah,
It's
is.
man.
and that guy dies of what, a heart attack?
I guess.
It really is like at
Maybe
least
he's not dead. We don't know.
Sure, he
In
just like
his-
kind of
yeah.
goes down. He started to look real sweaty too, like when he's sitting there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah
He'll come to and go in and find everybody in the.
he'll be the one. That,
Well-
he'll be the one that lives to tell the tale.
the rumors are he's
Wow.
Snoke.
Oh,
Snoke.
makes
It's
sense.
his DNA mixed with Grogu.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Grog Snoke.
Grogs.
Snoke.
grew.
Snoke grew.
Snowgrew.
Any predictions for next week? Do we have any
Man.
idea what's our final as we wrap it up?
I
for
am
tonight?
so anxious to see this ship. Is it going to be something of future significance? The ship that he's purchased? Is it just a random ship? Is it going to be something we?
Hmm,
I don't know.
I don't know.
30,000 credits. I don't know what that
30,000.
buys you.
Yeah.
K2
1,000.
is sitting in there.
He wants to buy my own ship for
I
that.
come with the
We
ship.
can almost buy our own ship.
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah, I
Who's
don't.
gonna fly, kid?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know how
I
we're
don't
gonna
either.
get him. Is
Do
he
you
gonna
think
go
we
back
see Saw
to?
next episode?
Oh man,
I feel like we're starting
feel
fresh.
like
Like we finished our
Could
3
go
episode
anywhere.
arc. We're
we
halfway
saw
through the
Saw
season.
in the
so
preview, so you got to think Saw is coming season 1. So
Yep.
in the next
Yeah.
few episodes,
next episode.
do we
I don't
think
know.
do we think it's in Well, it's funny grouping the story arcs. We've
Yeah.
had story arc 1, story arc 2 is just completed. Do we think we see Saw Gerrera in story arc 3 or story arc 4 of this season? Do you know what I'm saying? Next 3 episodes or
Yeah,
final 3
no.
episodes?
I think he's
I
introduced.
love that we're only halfway through. So
I
much
know.
has
Like,
happened.
I feel like the
Awesome.
characters introduced in this one were kind of, even though it was 3-episode arc, felt kind. Well, yeah, I don't know.
How about the
I
fact
don't
that these
know.
episodes are longer
Yeah, that episode was
than
longer.
than a lot of Mando
like
episodes
that.
and a lot of
I-
Book of
I-
Boba
it's
Fett and
such a
Obi-Wan,
good
and we're
feeling.
getting 12 of them. It just feels like we're getting so
Unbelievable.
much
Looking at
content.
today's
It's
episode
massive.
and starting it and just immediately checking the time, I'm like, oh, nice. We got a long one. I
It's
love
like
it.
2.5.
And then
It's
you're like
2
7
movies.
minutes in, and the heist is already going on. And I'm like, we got
Awesome.
Yeah.
50 minutes of this?
I predict that next episode, the next 3-episode arc, we're gearing back towards Luthen and specifically
Ooh.
Mon Mothma's
The Senate
like,
stuff?
what's the reaction
What's
now?
the reaction?
Like,
Yeah.
I think we're going back to
Well,
Senate
Imperial
and
reaction?
Empire.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, I
Imperial,
think-
big scale, they all gathered. We're going to touch on that. And we're going to touch on
Ooh.
Mon Mothma with her husband and kind of dive into what's the repercussions of what's going on.
Do you think
What's
Cyril
your
Karn
thoughts?
is involved in that at all?
Yes. I think
Yeah.
Do you think we're
so.
going back to a little
Yeah.
bit of that?
I think so.
I think so.
Because what, she reached out to the uncle.
They're going to need somebody
True.
to go to beef up security on different places, and he's got experience with a corporation. He'd be
Yeah.
a good one to put in there. I
Yeah.
wonder what's Cassian's price now.
Oh, on his head? Well,
No, I
how-
mean,
Oh, you mean his
What's it gonna-
mercenary rate?
Oh.
Yeah, what is it going to take? What's Luther going to
My
need
rates just went up.
to get him to the next one? Because he's
I
not
don't-
done. He likes it too much.
he does, but I wonder, because he's very clear, even though I think he's taking steps toward I'm in it for the rebellion, he's not there yet because he still ends this episode with, I want what I did my job.
Yeah.
Right.
I want
He
my cut and I'm
reluctantly
out.
takes the manifesto, right? But reluctantly.
Yeah.
She
Yes.
insists. He
Yeah.
insisted.
I
He's
think
like,
part of that
takes
was
it,
he was
but
still questioning what would happen. Like, if I go for it, are you going to shoot me type
Oh, that
thing. I
might
kind
be
of
it.
got that vibe a little
I
bit,
kind of
too.
want to see a little bit of late night. Cassian's dozing off. He's got some readers on. And he's just reading this
reading through the
manifesto.
scrolls.
Like,
Cassie
you want a cup of chow with juice?
Just finished reading this chapter.
He's just dozing off. Honey, put the book down.
Oh,
Maybe we get
man.
Marva back. Give him
There
a
we
little
go.
bit of Aunt Petunia.
There we go. No, I don't.
Wait. Are we getting any more Bics? I didn't even think
I
about
thought
Gotta
about
go
that
back.
Or
when
do we
I was
think-
He's
watching
gotta go
the
back.
Or
episode.
do we think
Continue
that that's
that.
the end of those? She felt like a big character.
Here's the
She
big
got her own
question.
poster.
So here's a big
Man,
question
it's
for
at
the
end of
future.
that. Wow.
What has to happen to tip the scale to where Cassian is now all in? What has to happen?
Is it the sister? Are we gonna find something about the sister?
I think we might
They
touch
teased
on the
with that at the
sister.
very beginning about a
That
missing
could
sister.
be-
That's
that
true.
could
We
be
might
the
touch on
thing.
the sister.
I don't
Is
have
she-
a, what if he
is it
goes? I don't have a
possible?
sister. He pulls a ski.
I don't
Is
know.
it
That's just-
possible?
I
What
don't
if
know.
what
Or
if
a
he
shirt.
found out that she's bought in already? She's part of the rebellion.
Ooh.
Would that change things? I don't know.
What if she's part of the Empire?
Ooh.
No, I'm
I don't
just-
know.
Pie.
I don't think the
I don't
Empire
know.
just scoops up people.
I don't know.
from,
I think we might-
dance clubs or whatever.
think
and it's
we
like,
might-
Get up,
Here's a
pamphlets
uniform.
on the street. Here,
Yeah.
join up. Although Han
Are
Solo
you
got in that way.
unqualified? Do you like the nightlife? Be an Empire. Join the
Join the
Empire.
Imperial
I don't
Band.
Kill millions indiscriminately from a distance.
But from a distance?
Guess what? We hate everyone. Everyone is. No one is safe. Oh man.
Oh, man. Yeah,
That
I
was
think,
rough.
man, I hope we get some more Bics.
I think
wonder what-
Luthen's going to reconnect.
I think we're getting a lot
Luthen's
of
He's
Luthen's
going to
gonna-
try to bring
yeah.
him back in, and
Mon
he's going to
Mothma.
resist. I
I'm
think
with you.
something's going to happen that makes him. He's going to have a reason for the next one. Like,
Is it going to be...
I want to be in
Maybe
this one.
maybe that's what Karn is. Maybe Karn gets involved and he's got no choice again to have to react.
I think Karn wants. I think he wants revenge. I don't think he wants.
That's what I mean. Like he wants
Yeah.
revenge, and now Cassian's stuck in a place of like, I'm on the run, or I got to react. Like,
You
I
mean he
gotta-
wants
gotta
revenge
take him
against
down.
Cassian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
do too.
I think it might be Cassian saying, "Okay, here's what we're doing. I need Luthen. I need you to help me on this. This is important to me."
You help me, I'll help you.
And
Hmm.
there's Cassian has something he needs done.
Mm.
That could be, and it could align with the rebellion, but it's
Yeah.
not
Hmm.
necessarily for the rebellion. But it does have an ulterior motive, maybe.
I think
Something's gotta
Cassian
draw
walks
in
in
there.
his shop and says, "How much for the holocrons?"
and then Luthen goes, "We don't have Jedi on this show. None of that Jedi business. Cassian Andor.
Cassian
This is
Andor.
not the show.
Jedi.
Andor.
I love that at the
Cassian
last
Andor.
episode, the thief, Andor. And then like, well, now you're really saying or, a hard or.
Did you switch it up to Andor?
Andor.
Sure.
Andor.
Certainly.
The thief, Andor. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
like,
it
oh,
was
fine.
Andor.
Yeah.
Andor.
That was before he knew his
Cassian
name.
That was
Really?
he learned. The thief. I think I called him the wrong name. I'm afraid he's gonna turn on us now.
Cassandra Andor.
He's very sensitive.
One of the two. Yeah.
Cassiopeia Andor.
Oh man, I just can't wait.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
don't
believe
know.
we're
I
only half
I
way
like that I don't
through
know.
season
I
one.
can't pick.
I love that I'm not sure
I don't know.
where it's going.
And I love not knowing.
Yeah.
I love.
Wait,
that we
that's
have
what
no
I
idea.
just said.
That's our shirts. We don't know, and we love it.
We love it.
Star Wars
You know
guys.
what else?
We love not knowing.
I don't predict anybody to be in it. Like I'm not waiting for a
No.
circle to pop out.
I'm
Like,
not.
you know,
And
that's
it's like
no,
even
we
these
can
things
think
can happen.
logically about like what are characters that have already been involved that we think
Right.
might show up, but like there's not like
That's not the vibe of this
Luke,
show.
Ahsoka
Yeah.
has to show up. Like it's not like,
No.
like if Vader came in, I'm like,
oh,
that's not. that can't.
really
Be.
this
That
loser?
doesn't make any sense.
There's
They're not that important. Vader
no,
should
no,
not be
and
here.
especially
No,
now.
no,
I mean,
no.
even to the point of, in the point of Rogue One too. They're still like completely. The Empire sees this little rebellion down. Honestly, until the
little
moment
robbery.
the Death Star blows up,
Yeah.
they have always underestimated them.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then, even evacuate on a moment of triumph, I think we overestimate. Like even then, they're like they
Yeah.
know this rebellion. They say this
Right.
insignificant rebellion and all the like. They have this disdain towards rebellion. They know you're part of the Rebel Alliance. They're aware of it.
And you're a traitor.
New Hope, but they're not They're not actually think they're threatened.
No.
They think that they're an annoyance that needs to be dealt with,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and we're going to get rid of it. And then boom,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's all gone, and that's how quickly it turns. But this feels like this was the big moment that catches. I love that everyone evacuating the Senate in the middle of Mon Mothma's
Yeah.
speech is like notifications are
'Cause
coming
it's got
in.
terrible Wi-Fi.
I was looking
Terrible.
for ET.
What's going on?
I was looking for
get
ET
outside,
in the
get
Senate.
better connection.
I was looking for the ET cameo in the Senate, but
Right.
I love
Why are they suddenly Sam people?
it. The whole Senate.
Zuka,
I love
Zuka. No,
Miss
I
us.
think
Grant emergency powers to
this
the
is okay. This is a complete.
That was my Christoph Waltz.
a
Christoph
complete
Waltz doing
tangent.
Jar Jar.
Complete tangent. Not even on the topic of Andor, but I gotta ask you guys.
Go
this.
ahead.
This
Galadriel.
time we were trying to wrap it up, and Nate kept going. Let the
Did
record
you
show.
see?
It
We can
clo-
wrap it
oh.
up after this. We can wrap
Let
it
the
up.
record show, Your Honor.
Let
This was
the-
Nate.
Did you guys happen to see what was going around today about Ahmed Best?
Oh, I did. You mean that he
No.
tweeted
He
something?
Tweeted a picture of what looked like a
Script,
a
right?
script.
Or like something
And it
he had
was-
wrote.
It was untitled. What was it? It said untitled. The one
He tweeted out the one-man show.
the one untitled the one man show by Ahmed Best, and his tweet said something like,
Time
"Think
for me
it's
to-
the time for me to tell
my side of the
my
story.
side of the story of
Hashtag-
how things really or of how things went. My side of the story of how things went down.
Wow.
And it said,
And it
like,
said
hashtag Star
prequels,
Wars,
hashtag Star Wars,
Oh my
hashtag Jar
goodness.
Jar,
Hashtag
Darth Jar Jar,
Darth Jar Jar. And people are like, what in the
talked,
world?
and it said all this stuff, and everyone's like, I saw it going around, and you and I like reply. I was like, yeah, I
Wow.
want to see that.
Disney Plus. Here we come.
But
I
that is
said-
interest I want to know.
I looked at that tweet and I said, Okie
what does
day.
that mean?
Okie day.
Okie day.
You so fine of me now, Okie day? Again, Christoph Waltz. That's
That's,
It'll be
yeah.
a good bit from now on. is that
Warm
Christoph
feelings
Waltz.
for Hayden now, you know.
Yeah.
I love
It's
it.
time. It's time
love
for
it. Bring
Ahmed to come out.
And
I
I
would
want to hear. I
love-
want to like.
Love to get some Ahmed Best
It's one
back in
thing
Star Wars.
hearing
I
the
mean, I know he's done some
rumors
stuff,
and,
but-
and articles
Yeah.
and stuff, but getting a direct stuff like piece of information from him about here's my side of the story. Here's how things went down. Here's the ups. Here's the downs. Here's
I want Ahmed Best and Jake Lloyd on a drunken podcast.
Ooh.
That's what I want to see.
I like it.
Where they just rant about everybody.
And it's called Now This is Drunk Cast.
Now this
Joe
is Darth
Rogan
Jar
have them
Jar.
both on and just let them
Just-
go.
Let him go. Just share it, unfiltered. Just say everything.
Jar Jar on a foul mouth tirade. That would be so.
But he's always in
Chowder,
the
you're like,
Jar Jar voice. He's all in the
ah,
Jar Jar
Poodle.
voice.
That would ruin. That would ruin my.
That would be
childhood.
rough. Yeah.
Not my childhood.
That
Your
would-
childhood ruin.
that
would
would
ruin
ruin
your
Uncle's
childhood.
adulthood. Yeah.
That would ruin a
That
lot
would
of
ruin
things.
Uncle's 30s.
No,
Not
but
really.
I'm
No,
excited
that
to
wouldn't affect
kind
it.
of hear
That'd
what
be
I want to
cool.
know what he has to
Me
say.
too. One man show.
Yeah,
I love it. Nate,
Be awesome.
we're
Where
where
can
can
they
people
find
find
us?
anyway. Thanks for tuning in to Star Wars Guys.
where can they find us?
You can find us. No,
Hey, oh.
you can always keep up with us on Instagram. That's at Star Wars Guys Pod. Also on YouTube, here on YouTube, or if you guys are listening to this back on audio, you can find the audio release of this on all podcasting platforms. But yeah, we post a lot of stuff on YouTube. There's a community thing on YouTube now. You can post different, almost like tweets and pictures and stuff. So we post a lot of updates and things on there, polls. Some fun stuff on our account. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Because what are you doing?
What are you doing?
But no, thanks for thanks.
Pincho Pesci. What are you
It always
doing?
turns
Hey,
into
Mom.
one of you
Hey,
doing.
Mom, what are you doing?
But
The white
anyway,
bandits
thanks
over
for
here.
thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate the support. It doesn't go unnoticed. So if you made it this far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and smash that notification bell.
This is what we're talking about. now.
And as
I
always,
I don't know where we're going. I
and
love it.
as always, may the force be with you.
I don't have a brother. That's it.
May the
I
force.
hate people who don't have brothers.
Siblings. You will have a sibling.
Long live
May the
brothers.
force be with you.
Long live brothers.
Long live brothers. Long live the rebellion.
That doesn't make any sense.